Good evening. 14,000 police officers and staff are to receive training in the new year to help them understand coercive and controlling domestic abuse. It comes as a Scottish Government bill to criminalise psychological abuse reaches its final parliamentary stages. Our Home Affairs correspondent Rival Alderson reports.
Look at me when I'm talking to you. Look at me when...
When this Scottish Government campaign against domestic abuse was screened, the focus was on physical violence, relatively easy to spot and for police to act upon. But a bill before Holyrood will criminalise psychological and coercive control. And in the new year, police will receive training to detect these more insidious behaviours and their outward signs.
Where people's personalities might have changed, where they have become isolated from family and friends, and where people might have, advised us of that through the Domestic Abuse Disclosure Scheme, our officers will now be able to better understand the impact of behaviours that lead to that kind of outcome for people and to take appropriate action around about it.
You can't do anything, hopeless.
Victims say psychological abuse and controlling behaviour can sometimes be worse than physical abuse and causes more lasting damage. Ministers say it's important to tackle all aspects of domestic abuse, which is no longer seen as a private matter.
I want to make sure that our police service are properly equipped with the skills that they need to be able to identify that type of behaviour. And that's why the training of some 14,000 police officers and staff will help us to support us in doing that, helping to make sure that they've got an understanding of what coercive and controlling behaviour is and what the psychological abuse is as well, and to make sure that we can prosecute these crimes effectively.
These newly qualified officers will be among the first to receive the training before the final debate of the bill next month, with the government hoping the law will come into force later in the year. Rival Alderson reporting, Scotland.
2 people found dead in a house on Boxing Day in the Borders have been named locally. The bodies of Kevin Armstrong, who was 53, and Pauline Coburn, who was 48, were discovered in the village of Heaton near Kelso. Police say they're not looking for anyone else in connection with the deaths. Lisa Summers reports.
Detectives arrive at the small cul-de-sac in Heaton. It's now been 2 days since a man and woman's bodies were discovered on Boxing Day afternoon. Flowers have been left at the entrance to the house in Ladyrigg View. It's a scene that's left many in this quiet village just outside Kelso feeling a sense of shock. The man and woman have been named locally as Kevin Armstrong, who was 53, and 48-year-old Pauline Coburn. A few miles away, forensic teams are working at this property in Kelso. This is where Pauline Coburn was listed as living. Again, flowers and a candle are left by the gate. Here too, detectives go door to door, looking for clues as to what was behind the incident. So far, they'll only say the deaths are being treated as unexplained. They want anyone with information to contact their major investigations team. Back in the village of Heaton, as the investigation continues, one key line of inquiry for officers is whether a gun was used as a weapon. Police have still to say whether they're treating this as a murder investigation, but they say they're not looking for anybody else in connection with the couple's deaths. And as they try to work out what exactly happened here on Boxing Day, they say extra officers will be here to support this local community. Lisa Summers reporting, Scotland, Heaton.
3 climbers who forgot their map have been rescued after they became lost in a Cairngorms blizzard. After the alarm was raised late yesterday, 8 members of the Cairngorm Mountain Rescue Team used a tracked vehicle to access the area before setting off on foot. The Aberdeen Non-Executive Director Duncan Skinner has been fined £1,000 for breaching SFA rules on gambling. These stipulate that anyone involved in the game is not allowed to bet on a match. Mr Skinner was charged with placing more than 580 bets, including one on Aberdeen to lose between 2014 and this season. Today, a tribunal found him guilty of 2 charges. A decision on 2 other charges will be considered in March. A team of British doctors, nurses and firefighters are being deployed to Bangladesh. They're there to help tackle the spread of diphtheria among Rohingya Muslim refugees who fled neighbouring Myanmar. Among them is a specialist in infectious diseases from Fife.
When you're working in the field, you tend to be very busy, and so you deal minute by minute and day by day with the events that are unfolding, and you try and be adaptable to them. I think there is an emotional and psychological cost to the work. Sometimes you don't really feel that until you get back and you sort of sit back and reflect on where you've been. We have support for sort of psychological support services if we're required to engage them. But I think you're right, but having done this kind of work before doesn't make you immune to the difficulties of it next time around.
INEOS, the operators of the Forties oil and gas pipelines, say the pipeline is now expected to be running at normal levels around the new year. It was shut down earlier this month after a hairline crack was discovered during routine inspections near Netherley in Aberdeenshire. The installation of goal line technology remains unaffordable in Scottish football, according to the SPFL. The Hibs manager, Neil Lennon, has said the lack of video technology makes a mockery of the game. His comments came after Hibs forward Ollie Shaw was denied a goal in the Edinburgh derby, which ended in a 0-0 draw. Today, an SPFL spokesman said that although goal line technology had been a proven aid to referee decision-making, it would cost millions of pounds to install it in all Scottish Premiership grounds. Now let's get the weather forecast with Coser.
Thank you, Sally. Good evening to you all. It's already cold out there. It's going to get even colder tonight. In fact, tonight could potentially be the coldest night of the year so far. And then our attention turns to the risk of snow. The early hours of tomorrow morning and throughout the day, the Met Office have issued this warning for central and southern Scotland away from the coasts, as we could see some snowfall even to lower levels and some significant accumulations over higher ground. But for this evening and overnight, it's largely dry. The showers fade. The risk of icy stretches across the north and northeast. And then we see this weather system approaching the southwest with it some hail, some snow and some strengthening winds. Now, temperatures widely dipping below freezing for towns and cities. For Glasgow down to -5 Celsius, -3 for Edinburgh. Across parts of the north, though, maybe down to -12 to -13 Celsius, especially where we have lying snow. So bitterly cold as we head through the night and for tomorrow morning. Then our attention turns to this weather system spreading snow across parts of the central belt by around breakfast time. Around 8 o'clock in the morning, if you're heading out, you can expect some disruption on the roads potentially. For the southern uplands, maybe up to 10 to 15 centimetres. Some blizzard-like conditions over the higher road routes. For Glasgow too, spreading into Stirlingshire by the first thing in the morning. Across the north, though, it's largely dry, but still bitterly cold out there around 8 to 9 o'clock. And then we'll see that snow spreading further northwards, edging to southern Aberdeenshire, but it will become lighter and patchier by the afternoon, more as rain across the southwest by 3 o'clock, and temperatures around 2 or 3 Celsius at best, some places staying below freezing, and it remains largely dry across the north. Looking ahead to Saturday then, another area of low pressure and a weather front bringing some further snow, not as heavy as what to expect in tomorrow, mainly in the north.
Thanks very much, Coser. We'll have more at 10:20 tonight. Until then, have a very good evening. Bye-bye.